Hi and welcome back to another 3ds Max tutorial. My name is Arnold Faller and you're watching AF Tutorials. Today is going to be a rather short video. It is an extension to a video that I already did about the Unwrap UVW modifier in 3ds Max. Today we're going to use, of course, 3ds Max in combination with Photoshop and SketchUp. Let's get started. We're going to start in SketchUp where we're going to build some simple geometry, and I'm going to build just a little house for this character here. So I'm going to pull up the lines here. I'm going to take the pencil. I'm going to draw a line here in the middle, select the line and use the move button to create a simple house. And I'm also going to add a little window over here, and to create a little bit more geometry I'm going to push in my window a little bit so it gets more geometry. Of course, really simple geometry. Now let's add one more thing. Here is here's a chimney. So here's my little box as a chimney, and I'm going to take the box, move it parallel to the C-axis up, and then I bring it in so it like this. So here's the chimney, and those two elements, the roof and the chimney, they are not intersected yet. Therefore you just select all the geometry, do a right click and choose intersect faces with model or with selection, doesn't matter. And now I'm going to open up the bottom of my building. By the way, I'm also going to delete the guy here. And I'm going to open up the bottom of the building, and I'm going to delete all the things that I don't need, and that is the stuff here inside. So that takes a second, but it's worth that we don't have all these geometry. So there it is. Now we only have the pure geometry. Let's export our geometry now. I'm going to not export, I'm going to save it as a SketchUp file. I'm going to go for save as and save it. And here it is saved, and I'm switching to 3ds Max. So in 3ds Max, I'm going to import the geometry, import and pick the SketchUp file. Here's my SketchUp file, Untitled. C is up and everything is unclicked. I'm not creating any cameras or double-sided textures and so on. Good. So here's my geometry, and as usual, the geometry has no texture coordinates and also no material on it. So what I would like to show you today, I would like to show you the combination of using the Unwrap UVW modifier and to create a texture template that we use in Photoshop to create some textures. So there it is. First, when you select it and you go to modify, you can see it's an editable mesh, and when you place an Unwrap UVW modifier, you know, in the other video, and I'm going to link it in the top right corner. So if you haven't seen the Unwrap modifier video, make sure you check it out. It's linked up there in the corner. And here's the Open UV editor, and let's open it and adjust the texture coordinates. So now we are going to select all the faces. I'm here in polygon mode. I hit Ctrl A to select all faces of my polygon, and now I use the mapping, flatten mapping, and I'm going to choose an angle that means 45 degrees. Every face that has an angle towards each other 45 degrees will separate. It's like unwrapping it. I'm going to lower the angle actually, because the roof, I'm not sure if the angle is less than 45 degrees or more, so I'm going to choose a low angle so to be sure that it is above the angle. So here's the threshold of 30 degrees, and now if I hit OK, you can see that all faces of my house have now been flattened out. So they're all laid out here. What are those things? So here we have here we have my walls. Here we have my walls, of course. Then the side walls here and so on. Some of them are rotated. And what you see, the little details here, are of course part of the chimney. So that is my window. That is the chimney, the sides of the chimney, also those two sides. And then we have the four sides of the window. Now I'm going to sort my things, and there are a few things we have to take care of. First of all, the texture that we are going to apply onto our roof will be the same on both roofs. So what I'm doing actually is, I'm selecting both roofs, and I'm gonna bring them, move them apart, and I'm gonna put them on top of each other. So I'm gonna put those two roofs on top of each other. That saves me a lot of space on my texture, because the texture will be the same for both roof planes. So here they should match because they have the same size. So if I bring them on top of each other, so now both of them are in the same area. So let's get the two roofs and place them here onto my texture, because this rectangle here is my texture. So I'm going to place them here in the top left corner, and now I'm going to use all the large planes of my building and place it as well here on my texture. So there's this side, there's this side. They can be different, of course. Now the two sides, here's one, and I like to select it in the 3D model. Here's the second one, unfortunately rotated 90 degrees. Not a problem, because we can, with a freeform mode, we can also select it when we are outside here, and if we press down, if we press the shift, not the shift key, the control key, it will snap in 5-degree increments, and this way I can place the texture here in my picture. That's one reason why I'm always selecting the polygons in the 3D model. And now is only the small parts are left, and here is my window. So the plane, that is probably the more important one, and I unfortunately scaled it right away. The window, I'm going to make the window a little bit larger, because that is a more important thing. You could also place it right here into in the window area, but I'm going to place it up here in this corner. Maybe I need to move this out of my way, and the rest is all the parts of the chimney and the window. And here is my chimney part. Select all of them and move them, let's say, here. I guess I missed one part. Yes, there's one more for the chimney, and here's one. And the parts of the windows, so those are all the side panels of the window. They are nicely arranged already, so I'm going to keep them together as they are and place them anywhere on my picture. So let's quickly get those lines, get those chimney faces sorted. I'm going to rotate this one a little bit, because it obviously is 90 degrees rotated. Here's the top, and here are the two planes. The next thing I'm going into, there it is. Now I have all the elements arranged. So the two roofs on top of each other. Then here is the side with the window, the other opposite side. Then we got the two sides with the triangular roof, and here's the window, a little bit larger, and the side panels of the window, which are not that important, usually just color or something. I have placed them here. So the next step is, and that is new if you compare it to the video that I already that I've already shown, and that is I'm going to create what's called a Unwrap template, and that is up here under Tools, and in the editor, under Tools, you can find Render UVW Template, and that is basically, it's just exporting this view here. We don't have a material applied yet, so it's pretty much checkerboard background, but with the Tools Render UVW Template, I can render a template. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to render it in 4K. So right now it's 1K, it's 1024. 4K, that would be 4000 and what is it, 96? 4096 by 4096. Then that's it. The colors, I don't care, they're green and red and so on, and I just hit Render UV Template. And there it is, a render window. It doesn't look good because right now we are looking at this rendering in a probably in a different scale, 1 to 4, it's 4 times larger. But when you zoom in, you can see that all those are thin lines that represent the textures on the geometry. Now I'm going to save this picture. I'm going to save it as a PNG image, and I'm calling it template. Save. RGB, 8 bits per color, including an alpha channel, that's fine. Okay, so that is the UV template. Let's the render tool, so here it was Tools, Render UV Template. Now I'm going to switch into Photoshop, where I'm opening my template, and you can see it looks as if there is nothing there, but I have rendered the template with a transparent background, and if I zoom in a little bit, you can see very light that there is some green lines. You can see it much better by placing a white layer underneath it. So here in Photoshop, I'm going to create a new layer, layer 2, place it underneath and use Edit Fill and fill it in white or black, whatever. So just you can see it better. So there it is, my texture with all the templates. And now you can start by placing your textures, you know, wall, stone, roof tiling, and so on, right here at this point. But what I would like to do first is I want to make sure that I don't have any of those walls upside down or rotated 90 degrees and so on. So that's what I do. Usually I place on top of my layer, I'm going to place a new layer, and I just use any color and a simple brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place anything, oh, that is too small. I'm going to place any sign that I know of. So I'm going to use the number 1. So here's 1, then there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, so that I know which side is on which number. Also here's the window, 5, then I'm going to use 6 to make sure it's not 9. Do it like this. Here's my chimney. So let's do this. Just make sure that this is up, up. Then this one doesn't matter. Also here, up and up. And with this one, it doesn't matter actually which direction they are because there will only be a color. So now to make sure, now to place it onto my geometry, I'm going to save it. And right now I'm going to keep it in Photoshop here with different layers, and I'm going to save it as a PNG with all layers on. So I'm going to use a PNG, and the other one was called template. Now I call it texture. So that is the texture, and this texture I'm using now in 3ds Max to place a material onto my building. So I'm going to start my material editor, and depending on what kind of render engine you're using, if you are rendering like I do right now in Arnold Render, you have to use a material that works for Arnold. If you're in Scanline Renderer, you can use a standard material. In Arnold, I would have to use a Arnold surface standard surface. I'm going to pull out a standard surface material, and here as a base color, I'm going to use the standard bitmap here. My texture, and take the texture and link it to the base color. in the Arnold material here, the base color, I'm going to switch it to 100% so we see it, and I'm going to remove the reflection and the specular, set it to 0. Now I'm going to place this material onto my building, and if you hit this button here that it says show shaded material in viewport, if this is on, then the material should also show up here in your viewport. And you can see that all the numbers are placed correctly. So now I can see 1 and 2 obviously have the same texture because they're placed on each other. And here's just a little thing. This green line here, later on we will not see it because this green line right now just comes from the template. Also the green edges, we're not going to see those because in Photoshop, simply what we're going to do later on, we just turn off the green stuff. So here it is, and I am just showing you a little example how I would now continue. So everything is fine, all the elements for the chimney are perfect. So next thing is I would continue in Photoshop. I don't need those numbers anymore, and now I would start to place textures in Photoshop. Here's one. Let's take this one. The ultimate guide to replace. I'm going to take the center part of this window, save as. I'm sure there are some rights on it. This is just for a quick demonstration. I'm not going to use it on any project. And now here is the image. Let's open it quickly. Here's my window. And here's my window. I'm going to take the area, and I'm going to use I'm using the crop tool, and when you stay on the crop tool, there is a perspective crop tool, and with the perspective crop tool, I can select only the part of the window that I want, even if it's not parallel to the image border. So here it is, and when you're done, you hit OK, and now it's a square image, and this square image I'm going to place in my template. Yes, I have not checked what color depth it is. It's a 16. The template is 16-bit. I did not check that. It's 8-bit. And now you place the template, you place the picture right here at your window template. So I'm going to adjust the top right corner, and now I go Control-T for transform, and I'm going to make sure that it's not linked so that I can adjust its length and its width, and here it is. Make sure it overlaps a little bit, and there it is. And now it's right placed. I'm going to turn off not only the numbers but also the green template, so let's turn that off. And one more thing, I'm going to pick another image. I'm going to open the roof tiles as well and place it on my image. I get the same. So there it is, and with my, I'm going to place it here on. So there it is. Turn my green lines off and also the numbers, and now I'm going to save it, and I'm just overwriting my texture. So go to File, Save As. I'm going to use a PNG, and I'm going to overwrite what I called texture before, so I don't need to change anything in Max. And when I go to 3ds Max, sorry, as soon as I'm there, all my views have been updated. So if the file has been updated, the texture has been placed right away. So there it is. My window has been placed correctly, and also the roof. It's a little large, the texture, so I probably would need to you need to scale it down and use it like 4 times. You have to I would tile it a little bit. But for right now, this seems to be working well. So once again, let's quickly repeat what I did. So I basically I placed all the sides of my panel just like I have shown in the previous video about the Unwrap modifier. And then I rendered the Unwrap texture. I saved it, brought it into Photoshop, And first, I just did those random numbers to make sure that I have placed every side correctly. Usually the textures, sometimes they are upside down, and you saw it before, it's rotated 90 degrees. If it's a side that is recognizable as being rotated 90 degrees, then it's fine. But if it's a square side, you don't see if it's rotated 90 degrees, and that's why I check it by writing those numbers. And after the numbers are all correctly placed, if not, then I have to rotate some of the textures. And if not, then I'm going into Photoshop and I'm placing real textures into the template. I'm just overriding it, and there it is, nicely placed. Okay, so that was just a simple, quick tutorial. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.